Some of my most favorite games I'm playing right now are these compilations. How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here checking out Taito Milestones 2. And if you're not familiar, it's like, wait a minute, there was a first one? Well, yeah, let's talk about the first one really briefly. If you're not familiar, it's a collection of 10 arcade Taito games. You got Alpine Skier, Wild Western, pretty fun game here. I remember playing Frontline at Burger Chef. Tells you how long ago that was. Kicks, one of my personal favorites. And do you also do this? Do you just like kind of trap them in, then do the big one all at once? Interesting game in Space Seeker on this one, kind of a fun one there. Elevator Action, a personal favorite of mine. I will never get sick of Elevator Action. Jack and Pop, a precursor to what would eventually become Bubble Bobble. You can see some of the similarities here, including a couple of similar enemies. The Fairyland Story, again, very similar to Bubble Bobble. You have Halley's Comet, or maybe it's Halley's Comet, I never quite knew. Kind of a fun shooter on this one, where you also gotta like shoot the comets as they're coming at you. And the Ninja Warriors, great side-scrolling beat-em-up here. I guess you'd consider it a beat-em-up. So while you're at it, you may as well grab Taito Milestones 1. However, today we're talking about Taito Milestones Volume 2, and this one features some amazing games. A couple games on this list, maybe you didn't even know they were an arcade game because you were too busy playing it on NES or something. And I was even surprised there's a couple of arcade games that I didn't even know existed. Taito Milestones Volume 2. Again, 10 great arcade games. I'm playing this on the Nintendo Switch. Bin Baro Be, I think is how you pronounce this game. Bin Baro Be, is that right? If any arcade game looked more like a Sega Master System game, if any game felt like it could have been a Sega Master System game, this would be that game. But how fun is this game? Also super difficult on this one too. But you play as a firefighter. We don't have enough firefighter video games. And here they had this one from, from back in the day anyway. You can jump, you can put out the fires, or try to put out the fires anyway. And there's also other things to avoid, like, falling pieces of floor. And other enemies that kind of pop out at you and stuff like that too. Definitely a quarter muncher in the arcade. Never saw it in the arcade. This could have been a Japanese exclusive. I'm not exactly sure. I can't claim that. I know I never saw it in the arcade anyway. But this is a super fun game and glad that it's on this collection. We got The Legend of Kage. Remember this game for the NES? Well, this is the arcade version. So if you're great at the NES version, you might be fun at this one too. Plays very similar, plays very the same. When you're like, oh, yeah. Fun game. Common on the NES. Maybe a little more uncommon in the arcade, but this gives you a chance to play the arcade version of an NES classic in The Legend of Kage. Kiki Kai Kai is just a fun name to pronounce. Kiki Kai Kai. This one did come out for the Famicom Disk System, but it came out, you'll know a version of this game a lot better, Pocky and Rocky on the Super Nintendo. Plays basically the same. They swap out the characters, swap out the graphics, make it a little bit more cartoony. But Pocky and Rocky on the Super Nintendo, if you're a big fan of that game, you're going to love this game because it's really basically the same game. To an extent anyway. Kiki Kai Kai. Or if you want to go old school, yeah, they have it on the disc system, but guess what? Don't have to worry about it because they have the arcade version, and it's right here, and unlimited credits on your Taito Milestones 2 collection. Check it out. We got the New Zealand story, Kiwi Craze, as this game is sometimes known as. But this is the New Zealand story where you play as a kiwi, a flightless bird from New Zealand, and just a fun kind of cartoony, colorful looking game with this game. I've always been a big fan of this game. It's funny, I never played it enough to beat it, but this time I can actually play through the arcade game, because I may as well. I mean, it's right here. We got Darius 2. This is the 3-screen arcade version, so it's going to stretch it thin and narrow on this one. The 3-screen arcade version. Well, just like how the Ninja Warriors was a stretched out 3-screen arcade type game. Darius 2, classic shooter, fun shooter, love the music. There's like talking and stuff in this. But always big fan of the Darius games, and you can check this one out as well. Now, I've seen this game before, and I believe it's on the Super Famicom. Is that right? I know it best as Liquid Kids. There is a Japanese name to this, something adventure, I believe. But yeah, Liquid Kids is available on this too. Imagine if there was a side-scrolling Bubble Bobble game where you can use like the water bubbles as your kind of primary attack. I think it would have been cool if they just would have had a side-scrolling Bubble Bobble game. Instead, we got Puzzle Bobble, which, ain't bad. I'm a big fan of that game, too. But I digress. This is all about this collection, and Liquid Kids is available on this collection as well. Super fun to see this. This game is called Gun Frontier. Gun Frontier, a vertical shooter. I've never seen this game before this, but I would have played the holy bunch out of this game if I would have seen this in the arcade, at least in my town. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of shooters, and this game plays just so wonderful, and it just looks so colorful with the explosions and all that. It's almost like the explosions are motion capture. or something. I just like how this game plays, and happy to see this on here. This was one I didn't know exist, but you know, happy to play it now. I mean, may as well. I'm looking at it right now. Solitary Fighter is a one-on-one fighting game that you can check out. Bat Blue, Tony Wan, got Ron Max, Lee Chen. What about Lick Joe? That's right, Lick Joe, Ben Smith. Yeah, you know. And then the fighting itself, it's interesting. I mean, it's worth looking at, I suppose. It's a bit of video game history here. Just looking for the strongest fighter of these. And their gimmicks and whatnot. I'm not doing too well this time around, but you know, still fun to just kind of play around with. It's one of the 10 games on here, so why not? Check it out. I think Lick Joe, believe it or not, is my favorite person to play as in this one. So if you're having trouble with this game, maybe play as Lick Joe. Maybe, yeah. Lick Joe. Lick Joe is the way to go, and here is his infamous battle cry. Very intimidating. And Metal Black is a horizontal shooter. We had a vertical shooter, and now we have a horizontal shooter. Oh, the second horizontal shooter in this one, if you counted Darius 2, which you should. I'm a huge fan of this game, too. Another game I didn't know existed. I like how you, with those power-up things, those things that look like everlasting gobstoppers, it builds up your meter to give you a stronger gun. And that's going to help you defeat these other enemies and thing. Now, and when you're ready, you can disperse all of that energy as your weapon crash. And then you can see the level going down and down and down. The more you have, the more of a weapon crash you're going to have, and then you have to build it back up. So, kind of a fun idea with this for an idea, too. I just like the visuals, like the sound, like the music. The visuals themselves are very psychedelic, very trippy. Very, very cool to see in this game. So, yeah, Metal Black might be one that you want to go to first. Just to play, just to look at. I'm looking forward to streaming this more. Maybe I'll stream this on Twitch here later. Just because it looks like this, and it just looks so cool. And we have Dino Rex, yet again, another game I hadn't heard of. A one-on-one, back in the days when, you know, a lot of the Street Fighter games were it. Dinosaur versus dinosaur on this one. It even gives you a couple special moves you can choose from at the beginning. Choose your dinosaur. I'm going to play as this giant Barney looking, you know, this purple dinosaur here, because why not? And I don't know, what can I tell you? It's a one-on-one fighting game with dinosaurs. Just a fun bit of, a fun bit to see and a fun thing to look at, I suppose, huh? Taito Milestone 2, it's available right now as of this video being launched, and check out the game for yourself. I love compilations like this and looking forward to more compilations. Taito Milestone 3, can we get one of those? Could we get a Taito NES Milestones? Could we get a Taito collection that has like Panic Restaurant and Little Samson and all these other great NES games without having to pay a fortune for them? I'd love it.